We're here at Chestnut Hill Cemetery in East Brunswick for a laying of the wreaths of two graves.
Hi, my name is Rich Walling. I'm here with Scott Marks. We're up at Chestnut Hill Cemetery decorating some graves. This is the grave of young Abby Herbert. She was one of the first children of the Herbert family that lived at 166 Main Street. Herb Appleby and his wife Mary Foss. Herb was a Civil War veteran. He came home, he built part of the house at 166 Main Street, and the record knows that the house on 166 Main Street is the Alice Appleby DeVoe Library. However, what people didn't know was that Alice had two sisters, one of whom is Abby. Abby passed away when she was about 2 or 3 years old. She was here in this grave, and about 10 years ago it was all covered over. Nobody could see her grave at all, and then the cemetery folks did clean up her grave, and today we're honoring Abby, a little girl who died at a very young age. So we have a little Santa Claus for her, we have a wreath so that she can celebrate Christmas up in heaven, and big thanks to Scott for coming up with the idea. And again, Abby Appleby, the daughter of Herb Appleby and Mary Foss, and Herb was the postmaster at the old DeVoe Library and part of the history of Old Bridge Village Historic District. Thanks. Hi, we're at the stone of a group of unknown individuals who were slaves back in the early 1800s to Abraham Barkaloo. Barkaloo's land holding was so big that he was known as Barkaloo the Land Grave, meaning he was a very large property owner between the South River and Old Bridge Turnpike. Back in 1983, 35 years ago, a group of individuals went over to the site of Barkaloo's property where the old cemetery was being destroyed by sand mining activity. Well, it turned out that that old cemetery was in fact a black cemetery that held the remains of people who worked on his property. We know from his will that there was Frank, Dick, Kate, and Phoebe. At least those 4 people were named. What's interesting here is that the people who worked on his property in the early 1800s, most likely either they or their children were part of the Van Wickle slave ring of 1818, where more than about 200 people from our area, African American people, were kidnapped, sold into slavery. That happened right here in this area, exactly 200 years ago this year. So we're here to honor and remember the folks who were buried here, and to recall that they too were part of our community. And finally, they rest in peace, and no bulldozer will come and destroy this gravesite as they did back in 1983. So thank you very much, and we will give you a little holiday greeting in just a moment. We wish you a Merry Christmas.